new ad out against Mitt Romney, and this one is devastating on about 17 different levels. Man, they just keep pounding this poor son of a bitch. Let's watch.
I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
Was there ever any year when you paid lower than the 13.9%?
Well, I haven't calculated that. I'm happy to go back and look.
Did Romney pay 10% in taxes? 5%? 0? We don't know. But we do know that Romney personally approved over $70 million in fictional losses to the IRS as part of the notorious son of boss tax scandal, one of the largest tax avoidance schemes in history. Isn't it time for Romney to come clean?
Okay, so first of all, they're not even hiding that in a super PAC ad. That is a Barack Obama ad. They're saying, hey man, show us your taxes. If not, we got to assume, I guess, you made 0%. This is doubling down, quadrupling down on the higher recharges to some degree. There's some chance the Obama administration knows something we don't know about how devastating those taxes are, that he cannot ever release them. So they can say whatever the hell they like about him, and Mitt Romney can't ever prove him wrong.
I don't think that they do know anything more. I don't think you need to know anything more. It's too obvious. Every campaign in history would have released taxes at this point. Forget the fact that they all do. But this kind of story by now would have been combated with someone saying, just release it, get it over with, deal with the 4 days that it's going to be bad. What's obvious is that it's really horrible, that they'd rather take this hit than release.
That's exactly right, because look at all the polls where they've lost independents. 63% say that Mitt Romney, 63% of Americans, 67% of independents say obviously he should release his tax returns. You've lost 2/3 of the independents and you still won't release him. I guess if you release him, you'd lose 90% of them, right? Because there's something devastating in there. Now, the son of boss thing, though, is really interesting. So that's a scam that Marriott ran, and at the time...
Well, it's a scam that lawyers and accountants ran and that Marriott took advantage of.
Exactly. And the guy who authorized that on their board, the head of their audit committee, was Mitt Romney.
From like 93 to 97, something
right.
like that.
And all the other Marriott guys on the board came to Mitt Romney and said, should we do this? Mitt Romney signed off on it, saying, yes, we should do this. Now, the IRS then concluded that this was a scam, that it had no legitimate business reasons, that the write-off was not an actual loss. It was, quote, fictional. It was so bad that the guys who ran the scam, not the ones at Marriott who said, okay, we'll take part in it, but the guys who created the scam got convicted. Okay, criminal convictions, okay? Romney looked at it.
In case people don't know what that is, that's when the federal government assigns prosecutors to look at financial malfeasance and prosecutes it, and if the people are guilty, they go to prison.
Yeah, because it hasn't happened in so long,
right.
We can't remember it. Right? That's how it usually works. So Romney looks at that and goes, oh, $70 million in fictional losses? Where do I sign? So he signs off on it. He's the guy responsible. And as they said there, it's true. CNN ran the article about how one of the biggest tax fraud schemes in history. Mitt Romney's fortune is built on the foundation of tax avoidance. So now you got this Marriott story and you get a sense of how he thinks about this stuff. What do I need to do to avoid the taxes? Who cares? Legal, not legal, fictional, not fictional, losses.
Ethical, unethical, let's go.
Let's go, sign up, right? So that's all but a small part of it. When you look at how Bain Capital ran their company, a huge part of how they made money was by avoiding taxes. Now, how did they do that? Let me just quickly explain it. So let's say you've got a company that's $1 million, right? And Bain Capital just says, I'm going to go do a leveraged buyout, and I'm going to buy it. I'm going to put in $100,000. I'm going to get $900,000 worth of loans, and I'm going to buy that company. Now, like you might buy a house, right? So it's called a leveraged buyout. Now, normally, before they did the buyout, whoever, let's say John started the company, and he's got $1 million company, and he's making $100,000 in profits, let's say, right? Well, he's got to pay taxes on that. So if he pays taxes on $100,000 and it's 35% rate, you're paying $35,000 in taxes, right? But here's the trick to tax avoidance under private equity. When Bain Capital buys John's company, they have $900,000 that they have to pay interest on. So all of a sudden, their profit is no longer $100,000. Since they have to pay $90,000 in interest to pay off the leveraged buyout, all of a sudden their profit is tiny. It's only $10,000, and their taxes is only $3,500. So instead of $35,000 in taxes, it's $3,500 in taxes, and that extra $31,000, et cetera, they put in their pocket.
Right.
So the whole system of Bain Capital was based on tax avoidance. And then on top of that, Mitt Romney in his personal taxes hides the money in Switzerland, Bermuda, Cayman Islands. So a great majority of the money that Mitt Romney has made in his life has been done through not paying taxes. And by the way, when he doesn't, we all have to. That goes to picking our pocket again. So we all put in more money so that Mitt Romney can put more money in the Cayman Islands. And that's the most devastating part of this, because in essence, it explains to you that Romney made that money by taking it from us, in essence.
I'm interested in how this line of attack will continue, because we've seen sort of an evolution of it over the last 2 months and how they're attacking his business credentials, because that's how he presents himself. Like, he doesn't have foreign policy chops. Like, he doesn't have that experience. He doesn't have the military background. He's the businessman. And in this case, as in so many others, the downsizing, the outsourcing, his excuse is, oh, I was just following what my advisor said. I didn't really know what was going on. How many times can he do that before he loses the ability to make the case that he's a serious businessman? If he was not responsible for all of these big maneuvers that made him so much money.
That's a really unhelpful argument for Mitt Romney. His great strength should be, if you just look at it without breaking into it at all, you're like, successful businessman, shitty economy. It's ideal. He's the ideal candidate. Except that the thing that should be his strength has been turned into his weakness, and I cannot see a way around it. Even that part of it. I mean, aside from clearly the tax argument undercuts his ability to fix the economy all by itself, but so does that his way of getting around it is, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, well, the whole point is that you're supposed to be the guy who fixes this.
Yeah, I am a business genius / I don't have any idea what's going on.